These people should be calling for jail immediately, like 24/7. How dare you spy on our records? We're not giving you subpoenas. These are Congress people. We're not giving you records. You have to notify them. So they just stuck with Verizon. Verizon was like, yeah, here, whatever you need. We hate the Republicans, so here, have our records. Then someone else, oh, this looks like it's Jack Smith from JLSSC, Special Counsel. Jack Smith's spying co-conspirators now busted. New emails released that show what they were saying to each other back and forth as they were rounding up evidence to go after sitting senators and House representatives. Guys like Ron Johnson and Jim Jordan had their records gobbled up by Jack Smith and his goons. And now these emails have come out. We're learning a lot more about what went down and how they justified this spying operation against their Republican opponents. But Ron Johnson summarized this pretty nicely here. He says, we just got some new documents from Pam Bondi. Thank you, Pam, for sending those, showing DOJ officials searching for any pretext at all to target their political opponents, including me, Ron Johnson, and my colleagues. Now, Jack Smith conducted a massive partisan dragnet aimed at crippling the Republican Party, and that you can't understate that, and eliminating political opposition. These records are only the tip of the iceberg, and we know that's why we're so animated about this. This is why we're so upset that James Comey's case got dismissed, although we think it's coming back. We want justice on this because this was an attempt to seize and consolidate total power throughout the institutions. And we've got all these various investigations, of course, Crossfire Hurricane, the Mueller investigation that emanated from that. Then we get the Jack Smith investigations that were inheriting the Arctic Frost investigation. But these are all the same FBI people. Okay, there's different directors. It goes from Comey to Wray, now to Cash, but it's the same entity. And it's many of the same people who are in these positions indefinitely. That's how the deep state survives. All the figureheads come and go, but the real mechanics don't change. And so here you can see Johnson, Jordan, and many others got spied on. But what's interesting about this is two people you'll be familiar with that we've talked a lot about here. Now, historically, hard to get information about prosecutors. Okay, they get on the internet, they go work for the DOJ, they shut everything down, they lock everything. All of their profiles, headshots, all deleted. Nobody knows who they are. They like to hide in the shadows and in the gutter. But once a new administration comes in and they run away, fleeing off a sinking ship, they go and they start working together and they form their own law firms. In this case, you have this one called Gaston and Cooney. It's a boutique law firm located in Washington, D.C., and they offer a range of legal services. They've got a lot of experience spying on senators and Republicans. Do you need help with that? We know a lot of Democrats do. So call your friends at Gaston and Cooney, PLLC. And they were around for a long time. We made a lot of fun of Molly Gaston, who is this woman right over here, because she was prosecuting President Trump and she was making arguments to Judge Chutkan in the January 6th case, saying that the defense really didn't even need to read any evidence at all because she highlighted the evidence for them. And she used like sticky notes and she organized a table of contents. So the prosecutor is saying, I've already pre-processed, pre-digested the defense evidence and I've given it to them. And so they're good. They don't need time to review the evidence. How many pages of materials? Like 14 million. How long did a lawsuit like Walmart versus Visa take when they had 7 million pages of documents? Like 7 years. How long did Trump get for double the amount of material and information? Like 6 months, thanks to Judge Chutkan. Why? Because Molly from the DOJ highlighted everything nice and orderly for everybody. And Chutkan's like, wow, this is really neat. Great job, Molly. Now, I thought Molly was like, 27 or something, but apparently she's not. So you'll hear more from her. She's sending emails back and forth. JP Cooney is this other guy. They're, of course, career prosecutors, 10 years over here, 18 years over here. They've been in there forever. Then, holy crap, Trump wins. They spend years trying to take him out. All of their emails now released. And so they abandon ship and they go and they start their own law firms to be hired by other Democrats having done a successful job. So these letters came down and the Oversight Committee released them saying new Arctic Frost emails have been released. They show the behind the scenes conspiracy to spy on senators and members of Congress. And conspiracy is a term of art that implies criminality, flagging all of these individuals for being caught up in it. And it's probably, as Ron Johnson said, just the beginning. So we also saw that Mike Lee said, this is what politically motivated lawfare looks like, Senator. With the Arctic Frost gang setting their sights on me, several of my colleagues and various conservatives, but with no explanation at all. Those responsible for this will soon be required to testify under oath. Hearings coming soon. And he's talking to you, Molly and JP, and the rest of you guys who thought that you could just run away from this, try to take out an entire political party. party and then just go start your own law firm and then, just escape all liability and culpability. And I hope, of course, that they're afforded all the presumptions of innocence and due process that everybody's entitled to, and that they afforded to everybody that they attack. Give them the same standards, since nobody's above the law. But here are what some of the letters look like that have been released. Internal DOJ letters now released, produced to Congress by the DOJ. And thank you, Pam Bondi, for doing this, for releasing some records so that we can read them and identify these people, because in many ways, sunlight is the best disinfectant, and these people all hide in the shadows, and they all think that as long as their people win, none of the evidence will ever come to light. In fact, even Kash Patel knows who filled those burn bags full of compromat that they had to destroy. So here's one email. This one goes from MGG. So we're presuming this is Molly Gaston, highlighter girl, who we just looked at, over to JPC, which will be JP Cooney, her new law partner. They're working together. They're also copying this dude, which is TPW, which I believe is going to be Thomas Wyndham, who was highly involved in all these prosecutions for the journey of them for a long time. So here Molly sends to these two Jack Smith goons, May 16th. Molly, she says, hey, JP, Ray, copying this guy. Ray, this is another dude, RNH, and CCing Thomas. Okay, so it's the whole little foursome here. Hey, JP and Ray, as requested, please see our memo on our request to subpoena toll records. We got 4 names now, hopefully all part of a grand conspiracy. Now you can see they write this. From JP Cooney. He says, I know it won't be to one company, but pretend for a minute, Molly and Thomas. For the period January 1, 21 through January 20, 21, what if we said this? Produce subscriber information and call and text SMS detail records for the following people: Mike Lee, Tommy Tuberville, Marsha Blackburn, Bill Haggerty, Tim Scott, Cynthia Loomis, Dan Sullivan, and John Kennedy. Should we add Cruz, Hawley, Perry, Gomert, others, says JP Cooney? Yeah, just go after everybody. All the Republicans. Just attack them all. Why not? Yeah, add them to the list. Who cares? Messages come back out from JP Cooney. He says, what about Kevin McCarthy too? And where are these people, honestly? We've heard some upset posts from Marsha Tuberville, Mike Lee we just read. Kevin McCarthy, these people should be calling for jail immediately, like 24/7. How dare you spy on our records? We should also include, to the extent we don't have, Jim Jordan, Judiciary, Lindsey Graham. Go after him too. And Jim Jordan's like, I really can't wait to call Jack Smith in here and ask him some questions about this. Why are we more upset than they are? Some of them are very upset. Ron Johnson, what about him? What about Mike Kelly? It's like a Christmas list. You're like going to the grocery store. No, yeah, get some more of those too. Those are not good for you. I don't care. I want them. And we're just going to eat and eat and eat. We're getting fat. Okay. It's May 16, 23. Trump's going to run again. We got to take out the entire party. They indicted him 4 times. They tried to remove him off the ballot. They were like those people at Black Friday events when they're running out, stealing a bunch of stuff that they didn't pay for. Add something else. Throw that in there. Ransacking it. Yeah. Another big screen TV. Yeah. Shoving Kevin McCarthy up there. All 4 of them just having a little field day. They write, okay, to JP Cooney, the other guy's called Ray Hulser, the election investigation team. Here's their little stupid memo. Okay, through this memo, we seek authorization to issue subpoenas for a limited set of toll records belonging to members of Congress. They write a page and a quarter of a memo, and that's their approval to go spy on members of Congress, about a dozen of them, saying we're going to go after the people whom Trump or Rudy contacted on January 6th. If Trump or Rudy reached out to them, carte blanche, go after them. We get years of their records. Our investigation suggests that Trump and Rudy reached out to various members. He was the president and the president's attorney in the period surrounding J6 to ask or pressure them to delay the certification of the vote, including in some cases on the night of J6 and the hour before Congress resumed the joint session, which they're allowed to do. That joint session at that time was not just ceremonial. You don't just show up and process the sausage. There was a legitimate argument that could be had, and it was about to be had until they encouraged January 6th to happen and enabled it. Ted Cruz was about to object. We were about to have formal debates about all of it. That's why they were making those calls. That's all legal. It's no justification. There's no cause there to go spy on people for doing things that you're allowed to do. Trump was still the president at that time. He's still allowed to talk to Congress. He's got immunity against all of that. Supreme Court even found it. Now, including in some cases on the night of J6 and the hour before Congress resumed the joint session after the attack on the Capitol, which again, he's allowed to do. We have ample predication to seek these records and have selected a narrow time period to reduce the chance of capturing activity unrelated to J6. Yeah, that's why they went after Jim Jordan's records for 2 years. We intend to subpoena all toll records from J4 to J7 for these people: Blackburn, Graham, Haggerty, Hawley, Loomis, Johnson, Kennedy, Scott, Sullivan, Tuberville, Rep. Mike Kelly. We already have records indicating that Trump and Giuliani sought out many of these members at pivotal times on J6. He's allowed to. He was the president. Based on emails sent by Trump's aide and text messages. Someone said, "Evening, Mark. POTUS asked the mayor to call these people." The text then listed Tuberville, Loomis, Kennedy, Hagerty, Blackburn, Scott. That evening, Giuliani left Tuberville a message asking for help delaying the certification. If there's fraud in the election, which there was, massive fraud, as we've talked about, even the CIA was involved in the fraud, then the president has an obligation to investigate that. You might say, well, it's also election related, and it's also related to the president, staying in power. That's true. But he also has an obligation to make sure that the elections are not stolen. And the CIA helped literally to create talking points for the Joe Biden campaign. They used CIA resources and assets to do it. So they helped steal the election. So the president was investigating that. So was Congress. So that evening, Giuliani left Tuberville a message asking for help delaying the vote. Giuliani's toll records corroborate that Giuliani called Blackburn at 6:59, then Tuberville 7:02, then Hagerty 7:08. Bang, bang, bang. No one's answering. Sullivan 7:14 and 7:18. Now, although this is curious, although the select committee, okay, so where did they get this information? Where did they even get Giuliani's texts? Where did they get any of this evidence to launch this memo? Well, probably from Liz Cheney, the illegally constituted January 6th Select Committee. Although the committee's report suggests that Giuliani tried to call Graham, we do not possess such evidence, but we're going to spy on him anyways. So finally, we propose subpoenaing records related to Johnson and Kelly because there is evidence that campaign officials involved in the electors scheme asked staff to Johnson and Kelly to accept Wisconsin's fake certificates, which are called alternate certificates, and provide them to Mike Pence on J6. And then after J6 happened, then they changed the rules. And we said he's not going to do this, but he would have the decision to say, well, actually, I've got two competing slates of electors. One that this party deems to be legitimate, one that deems these to be legitimate, and I will honor which one. Then they changed the rules and they made that much more ceremonial. So basically you just accept the one that came from the governor. But at the time they were alternate electors and they're just saying you can't do it. It's all illegal. Any Trump phone calls justify spying on Republican senators. So these records would advance our investigation in several ways. So it's like a, grade school essay. Why do you need this information, little Robbie? Well, it would advance our investigation in several ways. Number one, teacher, although in many cases we have some record of these calls, when Giuliani, he got members of records that would corroborate Giuliani's calls, it would allow us to see who may else have called these members. Like we know Giuliani called them, but who else may have called them? Like was it Trump's chief of staff? Did the president himself call? So we need to go get their records. With respect to Hawley and Hagerty, we do not have toll records reflecting the calls that Michael suggested Trump had placed to them. We also have subpoenaed Verizon to identify some apparent gaps in our switchboard records, including the Hawley and Hagerty calls, so they're scraping through the White House records. But Verizon's initial response was that there was no responsive records to our request, and Verizon bent over backwards to assist them. Remember, AT&T said, we're not giving you subpoenas. These are Congress people. We're not giving you records. You have to notify them. So they just stuck with Verizon. Verizon was like, yeah, here, whatever you need. We hate the Republicans, so here, have our records. Finally, an important issue in our investigation is who was involved in the electors scheme, called alternate electors, which is a legitimate path of contesting the outcome of an election and has been used before historically. It would be relevant and probative to our investigation if Johnson or Kelly were in phone contact with any of the electors close to J6. Once we receive your approval, we will conduct a consultation with PIN, which is the Public Integrity Group, P, Public Integrity, IN, and advise them of the above facts before issuing subpoenas. So then more emails come down, and you see this one is sent. Hey, JP Ray, here's the memo. Then Ray responds. Okay, he just read what we read. He says, this is more than enough from my perspective, like a page and a quarter. Great job. Yeah, that's perfect. JP Cooney, Molly's new law partner, says, agree. We will discuss with Jack today. Go ahead and get Matt to start drawing up the process, like instantly. They all read it in 5 minutes. They send an email right back, 7:19 in the morning, same day, May 17th. Wow, this is great. Great job, Molly. Yeah, more than enough. It's like nothing. Sure, go spy on them. Then we get some more emails back and forth. John, who is over in the Public Integrity section, their real acronym is really, PIS, P-I-S, Public Integrity section, but they know that they don't want to be a part of the PIS section, so they call themselves PIN, Public Integrity, P-I-N. They don't want to talk about the section part because they don't want to be a part of Team PIS, which they are. So just to be clear. So John D. Keller, he's the principal deputy chief over there. Now they're sending some emails back and forth. Molly sent this one over to Team PIS. Says here, John, I hope you're doing well and congrats on the recent trial. I hope you've gotten some rest since the verdict on this one. I'm writing to consult with the PIN, Public Integrity, on some narrowly tailored subpoenas. Or her team says, hey, this is great. We love it. JP Cooney, the other dork. Yeah, amazing. This is great. Great job, Molly. Send it over to get validation from the PIN section. Says here, these are some narrowly tailored subpoenas that we place plan to issue for records belonging to members of Congress. What? Congress? In particular, we intend to issue subpoenas from J4 to J7 for Blackburn, Graham, you know the list. Our investigation says that on or about J6, Trump and Rudy reached out to these members to pressure them to delay the certification of the vote. On some cases, even on the night of J6, in the hours before Congress resumed after the attack on the Capitol, our evidence says Trump appears to have reached out to Hawley and Haggerty at 6 p.m. on J6 and some 7 p.m. that night. Trump asked Giuliani to call a bunch of others, and Giuliani left voicemails around 7 p.m. and he was intending for these senators and others to help delay the certification, which again was their right, by the way. Just because they tapped people on the shoulder and let them waltz into the Capitol building after setting fake pipe bombs elsewhere to distract everybody and denying the National Guard after Stephen Sun called a dozen times saying, can we please have some help? They said, decline. After all of that, even if they wanted to come back in and say, yeah, our election was stolen, then they could have done that. Now, they wouldn't do that because they're, Congress people and mostly pathetic. So they came back in. We were attacked. We have to certify Joe Biden now. Okay, why? Because you got attacked. So now that invalidates the fact that we had a rigged election. But it did. Nobody wanted to talk about it. They're like, we're so mad at Trump for causing this. And it worked. It was the cleanup. They stole the election. Then they needed to impeach Trump. They needed to get him out without creating big declassification problem. So J6 happens. Then they have that as leverage against Trump. Hey, don't declassify a damn thing. If you do, the Senate will convict you. Mitch McConnell putting pressure on him, and then Trump left. Didn't really do anything. Too consequential on the way out. And that was the strategy. So then he makes those calls. Again, they could have come in. Congress could have come in and said, yeah, I don't care if we just got attacked, whatever. We're still going to object to a stolen election. But they didn't do that. Cruz and the rest of them like, yeah, Joe Biden's our president now. We're so traumatized. So around 7 p.m., then they said that there was a slate of fraudulent electors. So we are seeking call details for members of these people for 4 days. We have intentionally limited the time period to narrow the chance of collecting unrelated materials. These are non-content records that will not reveal the substance of the comms. Please let me know if you have any questions about this. I've highlighted all the pertinent details for you. Signed, Molly, highlighter girl, in the Chutkin prosecution. So then he responds, he says, oh, thanks, Molly. Good to hear from you, says John. And I'm glad you're getting set up in your new role on Jack's team, being a partisan hack. Based on the email below in our conversation, Pin, another co-conspirator, John D. Keller. Pin, who is actually Team Piss, concurs that the subpoenas for toll records concurs in the subpoenas. So we agree with you. Go get them. As you're aware, there is some litigation risk regarding whether compelled disclosure violates the speech or debate clause. He says there's some case law around this. I'm a lawyer. Remember the DC Circuit had the Rayburn case, said, quote, the bar on compelled disclosure is absolute. And there was another one from the Third Circuit, 1978. It says thus, the telephone calls placed or received by the member or his staff in gathering from outsiders, which is weighed in the process of deciding how to vote, may still be privileged as to use against him. Now, even putting aside the government's potentially meritorious argument that the calls over the related period, especially unsolicited incoming calls, are not protected, giving my understanding of the low likelihood that any of the members listed below would be charged, the litigation risk should be minimal here. Wild. So John, co-conspirator, who's helping Molly, is saying actually there is some case law, like there's bars on compelled disclosure, telephone calls, maybe privilege. In other words, you can't use it against them. He's saying their protections, they exist against being charged, not about getting the materials. So we're probably not going to charge them. And so they're not even going to know about it. And they're not going to have opportunities to fight or contest this. So since the litigation risk is minimal here and we're not charging them, I concur. Go get them. There's no public problems with this. So John D. Keller can join in with the rest of them as co-conspirators. So we now have 5 people involved in this. Now, Molly says, oh, great. Hey, JP and Ray, here's the revised memo that includes the fact that the Team Piss people concurred. And below is the consult with them. He says, yeah, there's a couple of cases here, but it's about privilege and it might be an invasion, but it's not related to legislative act. So just go get it, says John D. Keller. So they're, wow, great. So the people who were supposed to validate us just rubber stamped it. They read a page and a half and said that was perfect. So then we get the updated memo. We consulted with Pin and Pin concurs in the subpoenas proposed. Goes in and adds another little sentence there. And now everybody has signed off on it. Wow. Isn't that convenient? This is all it takes to go spy on a dozen members of Congress. Here's another one from the special counsel's office. This guy's Raymond Hulser, now working with Jack Smith. He says, JP and I have reviewed and concur in their requests. Pin concurs too. A page and a half. They're all smelling each other. Oh, you smell good. This smells real good. Yeah. Look at this great memo Molly wrote. Here, JP and I have reviewed and concur in their request. All happens in one day, okay? Basically, these are all May 17th emails. Pin concurs. Then someone else, oh, this looks like it's Jack Smith from JLSSC, Special Counsel. He says, why don't you stop by and explain to me what you've done? I don't want to put it in writing, but explain to me how we're going to be spying on these Congress people. And a lot of stuff is happening behind the scenes. He says, stop by. Then he says, okay, we're going to add a new memo. He sends this from Raymond. So they have a little meeting, all of it, off record. Nobody knows what the hell they said there, but we know who they are, partisan hacks. So we know what they were talking about. So then he goes back. He says, this fills the 2 holes we discussed. Oh, gosh. Regarding Senator Sullivan and Graham. What kind of meeting was that? Stop by for what? Anyways, they're filling holes with each other. And then Senator Sullivan and Graham are now going to be included. So they revise the memo again, all on the same day. Says, through this memo, we're now going to authorize these subpoenas. We're adding in a bunch of people. 2 holes get filled between Raymond and Jack. And then they send a new memo over and boom, Jack approves it. Boom, approved right there. So all of them plus Jack. So 5 plus Jack. And then we get another slight revision. That one comes in from John. Molly sends that to John. And John says, can you please add a line to the summary about the recorded message Sullivan says that he received? Can you please point us to the language in the select committee report about a call to Graham? That's from the RNH fella. Then Molly says, done. I just added it. And then the RNH says, cleared. Thanks for doing it. Then Molly says, thanks. One correction. We're going to get Rick Scott's as well. Not Tim Scott. Okay. It's not Tim. It's Rick. You guys got the wrong Scott, you idiots. The Epstein text uses a number with a Florida area code. Good catch by MLD. Okay. So someone else said, we got the wrong senator. They almost went after Tim Scott. We had nothing to do with any of this. All of them sending these emails. Again, it's like 12:54 before they even have lunch. They've got a full memo approved and they're just colluding in order to spy on the senators. So they add in that line and we get some more here, some exchanges. Hey, John, quick update. We just realized that Senator Scott, this other person whose records we should subpoena, is Rick Scott from Florida, not Tim Scott. The email we have refers only to a Senator Scott, but with a Florida area code. I assume this doesn't change anything, but let me know if it does. Like, oops. Nope, it doesn't. The fact that we got the wrong senator doesn't matter. Thanks, Molly. From John Keller. Another one. Add him to the list. Oh, he's the same guy. Team Piss. That's right. So hopefully Pam Bondi and the rest of them are working on bringing these charges soon.